Hi everyone, this is Zoe. I'm back with another summary edition of the American Chess Magazine puzzle calendar. Let's jump into the puzzles. This was the puzzle for March 20th. It was composed by Jorma Peetkanen in the year 2000. Again, all the puzzles in this series are white to move, mate in 2. If you want to try to solve the puzzle for yourself, then go ahead and pause the video here. So for me, this puzzle had a difficulty rating of 2 out of 10 and a satisfaction rating of 4.5 out of 5. So here in this position, again, Black's king is very trapped. It has literally no squares to move to. As long as White is able to give one check with one of the pieces that's currently not controlling the king's escape squares, then White will be able to give checkmate. So the first thing that caught my eye was, well, this light square bishop's not doing much right now, and it's also on the same color as the king. So if I could manage to use my light square bishop to check the king, that'd be a very easy way to give mate in 2. So here I consider moves like bishop, well, obviously you want to try to get the bishop onto this diagonal because bishop c8 is already guarded by the rook. Getting the bishop onto this diagonal, e2 is already guarded, so maneuvers include bishop f1, bishop d3, bishop c4. This square is not possible to go to, so it's mainly just these three. But it's impossible to get to any of these. For example, bishop h3 with the idea of bishop f1 fails directly to something like bishop g5, just making a passing turn, because even if White manages to play bishop f1, Black can always block with rook e2. Also, bishop f5, threatening bishop d3 does not work, because Black has the option of playing rook d8, guarding this square, and if White takes, White's still completely winning, but it's not mate in 2. Bishop e6 to try to go bishop c4 does not work, simply because Black can just take it. If knight b8, then the knight's no longer covering the a7 square, and Black's king escapes. So the thought process of using the bishop to give the light square bishop to give checkmate did not end up working. And then I looked at the only other piece of White's that isn't really doing anything here, which is this dark square bishop. Now the dark square bishop obviously can't give checkmate in 2 because the king's on a light square, but it can support some key mates. And with that, we see the key idea is to support rook to b6 checkmate. Bishop c7 unfortunately does not work because Black has rook b8, and after knight b8, again the king can escape to a7. Therefore, the correct answer is bishop to f2, guarding this a7 square so that if rook b8, then knight takes b8 is checkmate, and also threatening rook b6 checkmate, which is unstoppable, because if rook e4 trying to pin this rook, then White has bishop to c8 checkmate. This is the puzzle for March 21st. It was composed by Dmitry Banich in the year 1981. Again, if you want to solve this puzzle for yourself, then go ahead and pause the video here. So for me, this puzzle had a difficulty rating of 4 out of 10 and a satisfaction rating of 5 out of 5. So here in this position, if you look close enough, you'll see that even though Black's king looks like it has maybe a little bit of flexibility here, Black actually has no legal moves that would not lead to mate in 1. E takes d3 would allow queen f3, f1 queen would allow queen takes d2, f1 knight would allow queen e2 checkmate, and Black has no moves that would stop checkmate, but unfortunately it's White to move, and no matter what White plays, it seems like they don't have mate in 2 as well. For example, if White starts with king c2 with the idea of passing the turn, Black plays e takes d3 check, and obviously White can't counter checkmate. King c4 looks like it works, but then allows f1 queen, and now queen takes d2 isn't checkmate because the king isn't protecting the queen. Bishop takes h5 also looked really hopeful, but after d1 knight check, not f1 because that will allow queen e2 or queen d2, but d1 knight check, the bishop's no longer blocking the pawn, and White has to waste a turn taking the knight. And the queen is very stuck, and no matter where it moves, basically Black has some sort of way to counter. If queen f1, then Black here has e takes d3, and there's no queen f3 checkmate anymore. Queen takes d3 allows king f4. If queen takes h1, then Black has the option of playing f1 queen, and White here does not have queen takes d2. Notice that Black cannot play g2 because White has queen h3 checkmate. If queen to h3, then Black has f1 queen as well. Again, there's no queen takes d2 checkmate. White has nothing here. And moving the knight allows the king to run to f4. So at first glance, it looks like this puzzle is unsolvable. But then the first thing I realized was, okay, if I move my knight somewhere and I threaten checkmate, for example, knight d5, this could be another source of threatening mate. But the problem is, of course, Black runs and White has nothing. So then I thought, what if I use my knight to attack e4 and support queen takes e4 checkmate? This turns out to work beautifully. If king f4, then queen takes e4 is mate. And Black has no other way to guard this e4 pawn. So from the starting position, even though it looks like zigzag, in the end, it was actually more about setting up a checkmate. It was definitely a very interesting puzzle. This was the puzzle for today, March 22nd. It was composed by Helmut Prussia in the year 1961. Again, if you want to solve this puzzle for yourself, then go ahead and pause the video here. So for me, this puzzle had a difficulty rating of 10 out of 10. I do believe that's the first time 10 out of 10 has appeared on this series so far, and a satisfaction rating of 4.5 out of 5. So here in this edition, first of all, it's so crazy. Like, everything is hanging. Black's king is stuck in the center. White's king looks like it might be in a little bit of danger. It's important to map out the possible ways to give checkmate, though. Here, white could play rook c4, bishop c3, queen d6. These are all like possible ways white might be able to give checkmate in the future. Queen here, rook here even. While a lot of these checks, it's hard to believe, but a lot of these potential checkmating ideas will show up in the final answer. And again, because white has so many options to support checkmate, there's definitely a lot of things to consider. There's a lot of ways to try to give checkmate. I'll try to cover as many as possible, but I probably won't get to all of them. Queen e6 was definitely the first one I considered, threatening queen d5 checkmate. Black can't take on h5 because queen e4 is checkmate. Black's pieces here are actually very restricted. For example, if this bishop moves, then that allows queen takes g7. If the knight moves, that allows queen e4. If the rook moves off somewhere, then there's bishop c3 mate. So there's not enough to create zugzwang because a lot of black's pieces can still move, but there definitely is the thing to notice that a lot of black's pieces are restricted. So after queen e6, as I was saying, knight takes h5 doesn't work because queen e4, but here black has the defensive move g5. Just blocking this rook for one more move, and then white will not be able to give mate in 2. Another move that I considered was rook takes b8, but the problem here is that black has bishop c4 check, and there's no more rook takes c4 checkmate. White will be forced to respond to this, and there will be no mate in 2. The idea of rook takes b8 is, of course, if rook takes e7, then rook b4 is sadly not checkmate because black can block, but it was definitely an idea. I also considered rook c to c5. The idea of this one is to threaten rook d5 checkmate. If d takes c5, then queen takes c5 is checkmate. If rook takes e7, then rook to d5 is checkmate. But the problem with this one is that black can play g5 again. And the problem is that if white gives a check, then black just takes the rook. And here, white does not have mate in 2. Another move that my brother suggested actually was bishop to d3. This makes a lot of sense, blocking the rook off, threatening bishop c3 checkmate. If bishop takes, then bishop c3 is checkmate. If rook takes, then the bishop is blocked, so then white has rook to c4 checkmate. But again, black has this super annoying defensive resource of g5, blocking this rook, and now if bishop c3, then black has king to d5. So then eventually at some point or another, I did get to the correct answer, and in this position that is to play rook to c7. Now the idea of this one is to block off the rook, threatening queen takes g7 checkmate. Here, if black does nothing, then white has queen g7. If knight f5 guarding the pawn, then queen to e4 is checkmate. If knight takes h5 guarding the pawn, still queen to e4. If rook takes c7, trying to guard this pawn again, white has queen takes d6 checkmate because the bishop is being blocked. And if bishop takes, then queen takes g7 is checkmate. This was definitely a super difficult puzzle. So many things to consider, and the right answer is definitely not easy to see. I hope you enjoyed the puzzles in this half-week's edition of the American Chess Magazine puzzle calendar. There were 2 slightly easier puzzles followed by a super crazy difficult puzzle. As always, if you like my content, please like and subscribe. And that's all for today. Bye!